Welcome to Thinking Deeper by 6-7. Today we are tackling a premise that it sounds like a joke, but ends up solving, or at least completely reframing, the biggest existential crisis humans have ever had.
Right.
What if the centuries-old war between atheism and theism wasn't solved by a philosopher or a prophet, but by a computer science major named Kevin?
I love this.
We are looking at a scenario where we aren't just in a simulation, we are a senior project that got a B- grade, a reality where the creator is a procrastinating student, biblical miracles are actually just software bugs, and the structure of the divine is just an infinite ladder of stressed-out coders.
It is a fascinating, slightly terrifying, and hilarious look
Yeah.
at a narrative that recontextualizes God as a programmer and the afterlife is just an external hard drive.
So let's jump right into this. The source material sets the stage with a confrontation that, usually happens in these heavy theological debates.
Oh, yeah.
You have an atheist and a Christian, and they hit the end of the line. They are facing the ultimate reality.
And this is where the source just pulls the rug out from under you immediately. Because usually we expect one side to win.
Right. Either there is a God, and the Christian was right, or there's a void, and the atheist was right.
Exactly.
Wow.
But here, the narrative argues they were both right, and at the same time, both completely wrong.
Because there is a creator.
Yeah.
Someone made us. But it's not some being of pure light or infinite wisdom. It's a guy.
It's Kevin.
And Kevin is, well, he's a little underwhelming. The Christian in the story is expecting majesty, and instead he finds a guy who's just worried about his GPA.
That's the core tension, right? The creator exists, which satisfies the theist, but the creator is just a fallible, stressed-out student, and that validates the atheist's skepticism about a benevolent, all-powerful overlord. The source explicitly maps the creation myth we all know, the 6 days of creation, the day of rest, onto the schedule of a procrastinating college senior.
Which I think anyone who's been to university can relate to. The 7 days wasn't some divine choice. It was a deadline.
It was a deadline. Kevin admits he procrastinated until the last week of the semester. He coded the entire universe for 6 days straight because he was panicking.
And on the 7th day,
He didn't rest because he was holy. He crashed because he'd pulled 6 all-nighters.
it just strips away all the mysticism and replaces poor time management.
Totally.
But what I find really compelling is how this framing explains the rules of our reality. Because we do live in a universe with laws, physics, thermodynamics.
Right. And in this narrative, those aren't spiritual guidelines. They are coding constraints. Kevin explains that the program Our Universe is written in code, specifically C.
Oh, wow. That's a very unforgiving language to write a universe in.
It is. And because the code is so fragile, Kevin had to hard code certain rules to keep the simulation from crashing.
Okay.
He lists 4 fundamental forces, which align with our physics, but then he adds 6 natural laws of human nature.
That brings us to 10 laws total.
The 10 Commandments.
I love this interpretation. The 10 Commandments aren't moral tests. They are load-bearing code.
Precisely. If you break a commandment, say, thou shalt not kill, you aren't just committing a sin, you are causing a syntax error. You're creating a logical conflict in the simulation that could cause a memory leak or, a system crash.
So morality is basically just system maintenance. We aren't being good to get into heaven. We're being good so Kevin's project doesn't blue screen before he gets his grade.
It completely functionalizes theology. And this theology as bugging theme, it carries through the entire deep dive. This is where the source gets really inventive with biblical events.
Right.
If you view the Bible not as a holy text, but as a changelog for a buggy software program, everything changes.
The Tower of Babel was a great example of this.
Yes. In the Bible, it's about confusing languages. But Kevin explains that he used a Tower of Babel software suite to merge different coding libraries. It was a utility tool.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the one that really stands out, the one that really forces you to rethink miracles, is the Red Sea.
This is the visual that stuck with me. Moses parting the Red Sea. In the story, it's this massive display of God's power to save his people.
But in the simulation, it's a display of Kevin's sloppy coding.
Yeah.
I mean, ask any programmer. When your code has a fatal error, how does the compiler show it to you?
It highlights the bad code in red.
Exactly. Kevin explains that the Red Sea wasn't water. It was a massive block of corrupted code highlighted in red on his monitor. It was a bug.
So when he parted the Red Sea
He was literally highlighting the bad code
and hitting delete.
and hitting delete. He was separating the red error lines from the functional code so the program could keep running.
And the Israelites walking through it.
That was just the execution of the clean code after the bug was removed.
It's hilarious, but it's also a little disheartening, isn't it? The miracle that saved a nation was actually just Kevin in a late-night debugging session because he messed up a function.
It really reinforces the idea that we are not the point of the simulation, we are the output. And sometimes the output gets glitchy. The source even addresses Noah's Ark with this same logic. The Christian character asks about the flood, the dinosaurs, all those inconsistencies in the historical record.
And Kevin basically says, wrong folder.
The folder theory. Kevin explains that he has a final design folder, the one he submitted for the grade, and a junk folder, where he messed around with different physics and creature designs.
So the flood, the ark, maybe even the dinosaurs, those are just sandbox experiments.
That he just didn't bother to fully delete. He just moved them to a different directory. It implies that the inconsistencies we fight over in religion and science are just file management errors on Kevin's desktop.
He forgot to merge the branches properly.
Exactly.
It paints a picture of a God who is barely holding it all together. But let's pivot to the metaphysical stuff. Because usually the debate between atheism and theism really hinges on what happens after we die.
Right.
Does the simulation theory offer an answer?
It offers a very technical one. And again, it kind of bridges the gap between the materialist atheist view and the spiritual theist view. Well, to an atheist, death is the end of consciousness. To a theist, the soul moves on. In the Kevin simulation, when a character dies, they are simply removed from the active RAM of the computer.
Okay, so they stop running. That sounds a lot like the atheist view.
But Kevin doesn't delete the data. He stores it. He moves the user data, the soul, to an external hard drive sitting on his desk.
Boom and maybe.
Right. You aren't conscious, you aren't playing a harp on a cloud, you are just archived data. But this setup provides the mechanical explanation for the resurrection.
Ah, the Jesus archetype.
Yes, the source describes Kevin watching this specific character, who is essentially speedrunning a life to test the narrative parameters. The character dies, and his data goes to the external hard drive, just like everyone else.
But then Kevin does something very human.
He takes a break. He unplugs the external hard drive, which is a key detail, and leaves for a 3-day weekend.
The 3 days in the tomb.
It's exactly. When Kevin returns and plugs everything back in to boot up the system, he finds that the character's data has jumped. It moved from the unplugged hard drive back into the active program memory.
Wait, technically speaking, that's impossible. Data can't transfer without a connection.
That's why Kevin calls it a miracle. Not a holy miracle, but a technical anomaly he cannot explain. It's a glitch that just defied the hardware specs.
So the resurrection was the ultimate bug.
Or a ghost in the machine.
Ah!
But it spooked Kevin. It scared him enough that he decided the physical hard drive was just too unstable for storing souls.
And this leads to the modernization of the afterlife.
It does. Kevin decides to switch to a more secure backup method. He starts uploading the saved data, the souls, to a remote server.
The cloud.
Literally the cloud. The source argues that our modern terminology for data storage is accidentally accurate to the theological reality. Heaven is just cloud storage.
It's safe, it's off-site.
And it's distinct from the act of simulation.
And what about hell? Because if heaven is AWS, what is hell?
Hell is a hardware limitation. Before he switched to the cloud, the external hard drive was getting full. It was trying to process files that were too heavy or corrupted.
And when a hard drive works too hard?
It heats up. It overheats.
So the fires of hell
are just thermal throttling. The souls aren't being punished by demons. They are just stuck on a piece of hardware that has poor ventilation.
That is weirdly comforting. No, actually, it's terrifying. It means eternal damnation is just a lack of a cooling fan.
It completely removes moral judgment from the equation. It's not about sin. It's about file size and system architecture.
This brings us to the biggest philosophical twist in the source, I think. Because so far, we've been treating Kevin like God. A bumbling God, but God nonetheless.
But the source challenges that.
Big time.
It does. The Christian character trying to wrap his head around all this asks Kevin the ultimate question. Do you have a God?
And Kevin says yes.
He says, duh. You think I just came from nothing? And then right in front of them, Kevin starts praying.
This is the moment where the atheism versus theism debate gets really, really interesting. Because Kevin prays to his creator, thanking them for the B- grade, and his creator talks back.
It introduces the concept of recursive divinity. It's simulations all the way down, or rather all the way up. Kevin created us, but someone created Kevin. And presumably someone created the guy who created Kevin.
It's an infinite ladder of students.
Exactly. And this structure, this infinite ladder, is how the source argues that everyone is right. It validates agnosticism and even atheism in a way that monotheism usually doesn't.
Talk about the elevator concept. I thought this was brilliant.
It's the idea that truth depends on your floor in the building of reality. Kevin explains that on our floor, he is God. So theism is technically correct here.
Okay.
But if you go up the elevator,
For floor 42, for example.
and 442, the God of that level exists in a quantum superposition. He both exists and doesn't exist until he's observed.
So the agnostics own floor 42.
Right. And then you have floor 63. On floor 63, there is no creator. The civilization there just happened.
So the atheists on floor 63 are correct.
Yes. The source says explicitly, the atheists on that floor are correct. And this is a crucial insight. It suggests that the fierce debate we have on Earth about God isn't a matter of one side being stupid and the other being enlightened.
It's just that we are arguing about the architecture of our specific floor.
It turns theology into geography. If you're an atheist, you might just be spiritually attuned to floor 63, even though you're living in Kevin's basement. It sort of diffuses the conflict.
But Kevin didn't just build the stack for fun. He had a mission. And this is where the critique of humanity comes in sharpest. Why did Kevin build this simulation?
He calls it the coexist test. He wanted to see if he could code a reality where different religions and belief systems could exist on the same level without destroying each other.
And the result?
Failure. Total failure. Kevin admits that he ran the simulation to the end of its timeline, and every single time, when fundamental morals and beliefs differed, the humans went to war. We couldn't harmonize.
So the Crusades, the religious wars, the Twitter arguments, that's why he got a B-.
He says a B- was generous. He says the only win humanity ever achieved, the only time we successfully merged our beliefs, was the coexist bumper sticker.
That is brutal. Thousands of years of history, and our peak achievement was a bumper sticker on a Prius.
It implies that intolerance isn't a choice we make. It's a bug in the code that Kevin just couldn't patch. He tried to force compatibility, and the system rejected it.
It really makes you wonder if the problem of evil is just a problem of coding competence.
It certainly leans that way.
We have to address the very top of the ladder. Because the Christian character asks, who is at the top? Who is the top God?
And this is where the source just descends or ascends into pure absurdity. You expect the prime mover, the alpha and omega.
And instead you get a guy asking about the color of your Bugatti.
It's a reference to Andrew Tate, or, a caricature of them. The top God is just an absurd, toxic internet meme.
What is the source trying to say with that? Is it just the joke?
I think it's a purposeful anticlimax. We spend our lives searching for ultimate meaning, climbing this ladder of understanding. And the source suggests that if you climb high enough, you might find that the ultimate reality is just nonsense.
It's chaotic, it's ridiculous.
And it's not worthy of worship. It reinforces the idea that we shouldn't look up for answers. Because the guys upstairs, Kevin the quantum god, the meme god, they're just as messy as we are.
Right. It brings the focus back to us. If God is just a C student trying to pass a class, then we are on our own in terms of finding meaning.
Absolutely.
So let's synthesize this. We've gone from a student's desktop to the infinite ladder of creation. We've turned miracles into bugs and the afterlife into data storage. What is the takeaway here?
I think the takeaway is a sense of humility about our divine plan. We often interpret the suffering and chaos of the world as part of some mysterious, perfect tapestry. We tell ourselves God works in mysterious ways.
But this narrative suggests that the mysterious ways are just Kevin trying to fix a memory leak at 3 a.m.
Exactly. It suggests that the universe might be broken not because we sinned, but because it was built in a rush. The parting of the Red Sea wasn't poetic justice, it was a hot fix. Hell isn't justice, it's hardware failure.
It's a terrifying thought, but also kind of liberating. If the system is buggy, we don't have to blame ourselves for every crash.
And it highlights the tragedy of that coexist failure. If the creator himself couldn't code us to get along, maybe that's the one bug we should be trying to fix ourselves, since Kevin is clearly moving on to his next class.
Which brings us to the reality of the senior project. Kevin got his grade. He got his B-.
And usually when you get your grade,
You don't keep the project running forever.
you shut down the computer, you wipe the drive.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought today. If we really are in a simulation and our God is just a student who just finished his finals, should we be celebrating the miracle of existence? Or should we be very, very worried about what happens when he decides he needs that hard drive space for a new video game?
Maybe that B- is the only thing keeping the power light on.
Thanks for thinking deeper with us.